When you start living with the end in mind, everything starts to change. What are people going to say about you? What message is your life going to speak when you're long gone? Because you weren't born by accident. You didn't just happen to be where you're at and happen to watch this video. There is always a reason.
So, welcome to the Fuse Life podcast. This is episode 149, getting closer to that 150. And today we're talking about struggling with taking action. Now, if you have been following my podcast or anything that I do for a while, you know that I like to keep it simple. I like to keep it practical. I don't like to over spiritualize things. I think that if your spirituality is not causing a change in your actuality, it might not be real spirituality. Okay, so spirituality is very practical by nature. And obviously a lot of us have been trained in different ways of Christianity that makes room for so much theory. It makes room for so much spiritual talk and not enough walk, right? But when I see Jesus, he walked more than he talked, and he talked a lot. So just imagine how much he walked. And when he grabbed his disciples, they all went on a journey of walking, not of talking, right? Many people think that making disciples of all nations is just go around talking. That talking is a smaller part. The walking is a bigger part. And we are called to be walkers. We are called to be those that actually get things done, that take action, that move. So as a coach, I have seen so many people struggle with taking action for different reasons. They struggle with getting things done. I've been on coaching calls and people cry. People have revelatory moments. Something hits them and they go, I see it. I know I'm called to this. I've had times where during a coaching call, someone might start crying because they can feel the pain of the people group they're called to. Maybe they have a deep sense of injustice. And so when they hear about abortion, when they hear about sex trafficking, it really hits them. And it hits them like that because it's part of their calling. And they cry and they have this moment and they know they should do something. They know they might need to write their book. They know they might need to open their home to something. They know they might need to join a group of people that are doing something about this problem. They know all of this inside. And so they cry and then they're like, okay, I'm going to do something about it. But then they take no action. They take no action. Now, if you have ever struggled with taking action on something you know you should be taking action on, let me know in the comments. That would be amazing. And let me know in the chat box or replay whenever you're watching this, right? And have you ever struggled with taking action? It's a good time for you to do a little bit of self-assessment. And so I've met a lot of people who struggle with the action element. And today I want to go into 5 reasons. There's many more. And these 5 reasons all actually interact with one another. So you can't really separate them from one another. So in some ways, when you hear me, you're going to say, oh, they sound similar. And they do. They sound the same. And they do. But they also have their own unique little element as to how they stop us from taking action. So in my life, I have some people that I follow online, some people that I know as friends, some people that I know who are doing amazing. Like when I say doing amazing, not necessarily only success the way the world has taught us, but they just continuously, there is a movement. It's a train. They have bad things happen to them. They have challenges come across their path. They have things that are not always nice, yet they somehow just keep moving. And in many ways, a lot of people don't know they go through these challenges because they just keep moving. And they keep moving because they have learned how to fearlessly execute. They have learned how to take action even when they don't feel like it. They've learned how to take action in the midst of chaos. They've learned how to keep moving. And I would like to propose to you that that is something that you will have to learn if you want to mature. If you want to mature, there are many times we see Jesus, many times we see the apostles, many times we see Paul talking about it in his letters where things are coming up as they journey and they don't stop the journey. And because these things are coming up, they've found a way to keep moving and learning how to take persistent action, learning how to fearlessly execute is going to make a massive difference in your life. So I want to go through these 5 things. And if you can adopt a habit of fearless execution, Right now, some of you overthink things so much that it causes you to paralyze yourself and nothing happens. Right now, some of you know that there's 4 or 5 things that have been waiting in the wings to come out of you, to be released, whether it's a book or a podcast or a channel or whatever it is, blog posts. But there's been a block up because of this action taking struggle. And as we go through some of the reasons this happens, hopefully you're able to relate to some of them and do something about it. Right. So I can see here in the comments, people saying, yes, there have been things that I know I should have taken action on and I didn't. Great. And now we can do something about it. So the first thing, I want to start with the easiest thing and get it out of the way. Okay. And the most basic thing is a lack of discipline. We should start there in the simplest way, is that a lot of us have not been trained, or we have not trained ourselves in discipline. And this is a common one, right? So discipline is the ability to make a plan and stick to it no matter what. And when you meet people, very quickly, whether they're a person of discipline or not, from the way that they look, because you carry your body a certain way when you have discipline, to the way that they talk, how much they talk, what they say, what they're like at a dining table, right? In interactions with people, you can already, this is subconsciously, you can see whether there is any form of discipline or not. And so discipline allows you to set a path and stick to that path no matter what's happening. It allows you to build habits. And we talked about habits last week and how we're creatures of habits. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this discipline one, but I'm going to start there because you probably already have thought about it. Are you a person of discipline? Have you ever practiced discipline? Discipline is not something that you just choose today and you're good at tomorrow. Do you know that when people choose to become a monk, where they detach from the world and they choose to go deep into nothingness, right? Into their focus, there is so much practice that goes into the discipline. If you think that discipline is a choice you make once, it's hard to get good at discipline, because once you don't make a good choice, then it's over. I'd like to submit to you that discipline is a skill that you will need to practice over and over again, but eventually you will get so good at it that discipline becomes your second nature. Like the people that wake up in the morning, have a routine, or go to the gym, and they do things that most others, they don't move like that. They move on their feelings. But discipline teaches you about, temporal gratification, instant gratification, or long-term gratification, right? We've talked about all that last week. But I just want to put this out there. The first thing is discipline. Do you practice discipline? And do you have something in your life to practice discipline? Now, one of the ways that you can start to build good discipline is doing things like G63, right? There's a program called G63 that I've done, and I can put a link in here. You can look at that. It's just a free program. It's just habits that you do every day. G63 stands for Grace 63. And you learn how to do something for 63 days straight, where you spend a little bit of time on your spirit, on your soul, on your body, on your heart. And that discipline, developing that discipline, actually shifts your ability to perceive, to see, to think, to know, your confidence. All this changes when you start adopting a habit of discipline. So you want to put yourself into some form of program, however small, however big, that's going to cause you to need to show up every day. And I recommend you do this in the safety of your own lifestyle, your own home, right? Years ago, I did this program called Infusion. And I called it Infusion because it was like a tea bag going into hot water, and whatever was in the tea bag was going to show up in the cup, was going to show up in the water. So I had a group of people. We went into this 21-day program because it takes 21 days to kind of break a habit and start forming a new one. But it takes 3 cycles of that to cement that habit, which is 63 days, right? I didn't know that when I made G63, but I was very happy to find out. 63 days is 3 cycles of starting a new habit. And if you can do 63 days, you have shifted to some capacity. And so this infusion program, we get people in, and they'd spend 5 minutes every day on their spirit, on their soul, on their body, and on their heart. Okay, so what does that mean? 5 minutes on either praying in tongues, worship time, going deep in the spirit, engaging God. 5 minutes on their soul, which might be journaling, which might be listening to a podcast, reading a book, something for their mind, will, and emotions. 5 minutes on physical activity, which might have just been dancing around, walking down to the mailbox and back, running around for 5 minutes. It could be anything, but just 5 minutes a day. And then 5 minutes on a relationship that matters, a relationship that's important to them. And their 5 minutes was uninterrupted engagement with somebody. So just 5 minutes on your spirit, your soul, your body, your heart. Now, when I would say this to people, everyone would be like, oh, 5 minutes. And they would usually go one of two ways. One is they go, 5 minutes is not enough. Because we have this mentality that I should do a lot. And only then something good is happening. If I do something that's little, it's not that effective. And we don't realize that actually little done regularly is more powerful than big done once. Right? Like if you were to run 1 or 2 kilometers a day over 30 days, it would be better for you than you just trying to run a half marathon one day in the month. And so learning how to chunk your life with a little per day can change the game significantly for you. And so in this infusion program, people started doing this 5 minutes a day. And then another thing that people would say to me is, I already do that. I already do that. And most people would say that to me, oh, I already do that. That's just part of my life. But as soon as we started to record, and what I mean by record is you actually write down somewhere 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and you report it to somebody. People realize, actually, day 6, I would not have done it. Actually, day 19, I would not have done it. Day 13, I would not have done it. They very quickly realize there's many days they would not have done it. So just to wrap up this discipline conversation, if you want to grow in your discipline, here's the simplest way you can do it, right? Start with 5 minutes a day on your spirit, 5 on your soul, 5 on your body, and 5 on your heart. And go for 21 days straight without missing a day. And it will begin something in you. And if that's easy for you, then you can go to the next level. But discipline is something, just like when you go join the army, there's a whole day of training, whole day of learning, all this kind of stuff. But when you wake up, there's a waking up, getting out of bed, making your bed, right? Having your space look like a certain way. These are things that become second nature. And you want discipline to be an active part of your life. Last thing I want to say on discipline is Pearson's law. There's a law that states, it talks about when you record something. So when I'm recording something, it starts to improve straight away. So if you're someone that never records what you're doing, like for example, when you're going to the gym and you don't record your food intake, you don't record your weight, you don't record the weights you're lifting and how many reps you're doing, you just wing it, right? Most gym goers, that's what they do. They don't have a program or a plan. They go by feelings. So Monday is a hard workout. It's awesome. But Wednesday might be a crappy workout because I didn't feel like it, right? So most gym goers don't look like they go to the gym because they don't follow a plan. They follow their feelings. But when you create a plan, you will get to the outcome of that plan. Much easier in most cases, right? And so when you record something, it improves. If you start recording how much money you made every day, if you started recording that, it would improve. If you start recording what you're eating, automatically your eating is going to improve. If you start recording what you do with your time every day, automatically your time management is going to improve. If you start recording what's going through your mind every day, like journaling, automatically your thought process is going to improve. So Pearson's law states whatever you record improves. But whatever you record and report. So now if we add the recording and the reporting, where you go somewhere, you have a friend, you have a group, you have a forum where you get to report your recording, where you say, yep, today I did this. Today I made this much. Today I got this done. And you report it, it grows exponentially. So there is good growth if you just record it. But once you have to report it, Like when I have to take my weight every day and once a week, take a screenshot and send it to my coach. It has radically improved what's happening physically for me. When I have to catch up with my coach every Thursday morning on a call, and he asks me about my training. He asks me, did you do what you said you were going to do, Joseph? How did it go? It's radically improved my results. So when you record something and you report it, you are going to have exponential growth. If you want to improve anything in your life, add these two things in there. It is going to blow your mind. Okay? Record, report. So that discipline was the easiest one to talk about. The first one, boom, we get that out of the way. Now, the biggest one I want to talk about in this is victim thinking. Victim thinking. And there is a lot of things that Christianity has caused us to act like we don't have to deal with. So I'd just like to propose to you, right, that yes, you are saved. You have the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead. Your spirit and his spirit were fused into one. 1 Corinthians 6:17, okay? Romans 8:11. Like it's true. You have the most amazing spirit that you could ever have now because you and him are one. But your soul, that's your mind, your will, your emotions, that is where your free will lives. That is where a lot of your control lives. That is still deciding how much it is going to yield to the spiritual reality or not, right? So your soul, there is training that has to be done in that realm. And victim thinking is something that pops out to everybody, for everybody at some point. You know, my last 3 years with my body has been a hard journey. It's been a hard journey because I had some things happen to me after a travel incident, and it's just been one thing after another with my gut and putting on weight and not being able to shift things and losing strength and all this stuff. And it caused me to start to develop this little victim on the inside. I started to listen to these little voices that would say things like, why me? Oh man, that person doesn't ever have to think about that, and I have to think about it. It's so much harder for me. It looks so much easier for that person. Victim thinking is so subtle that the victim in you sounds like your best friend. And that victim has no plans for you to become the best version of yourself, okay? That victim has no plans to bring you into the fullness of what God has for you. That victim's only agenda is to pat your back and make you feel like your situation is so hard, your circumstances are so hard, no one will ever understand you. What you're going through is way harder than what anybody else has. Nobody gets it. Even if they've been through what you've been through, they didn't go through it like you. So they have no way to speak into your situation. And that victim thinking starts to isolate you. It starts to cover you and cover you in a way that you feel good temporarily about it. I'm getting these notifications. Give me a second. Shut that off. That you feel good about whatever you're actually not happy about in your situation, right? And so this victim thinking becomes something you're going to have to learn to identify. Sorry, my phone's going crazy suddenly. That's very interesting. Then you're going to have to learn to identify if you are wanting to move into a victorious life. The victim and the victor cannot dwell together in the same room. You know, when I meet somebody and we start talking about things, very quickly I know where they live. Because in a person's language, in a person's questions and a person's answers, in a person's conversation, very quickly you will find out what they really believe. And when people have the stories memorized of all the reasons why they will never be great, when they have it memorized, all the reasons why they can't lose the weight, they're never going to write that book, things can't get good for them, why they're sick and how they're going to stay sick, right? I have met people with no legs do great things, people with MS, people with real crazy health conditions doing amazing things. And I've met some of them and I've seen a lot of them online. And then you meet someone with a quarter of what happened to this person, but somehow that thing has disabled this person for life. debilitated them for life. Victim thinking is like the victim tries to become your friend in such a nice and sympathetic way, not empathetic, because empathy is I feel for you and I'm going to help you move out of this. Sympathy is I just feel sorry for you. I feel pity for you. And a victim thinker wants everyone to feel sorry for them. So as a coach, I run into this a lot, and a lot of people hate me because there's no room for that. Now, I can sit in a room and we can all cry about how bad things are and stay there for the rest of our lives, right? But as a coach, that's not my job. That's not my role. And I get people moving, right? That's the goal. The victor in you. And so there is a victor and a victim in all of us, and the voices start popping up all the time. And what happens is after a while, you just learn. After a while, you just learn not to listen and give food to the victim, and you start to feed the victor. And after a while, your thinking process just switches. So a couple of things around the victim thinking that I think are important, okay, is that, I've kind of touched on some of these, but the victim always feels like they know best. Nobody knows like them. The victim always feels like their situation is worse than anybody else's. Right? The victim always feels like nobody understands them because they're seeking sympathy. And in some places where they don't get it, they will perceive those people to be rude or not good people. The victim is always looking for excuses to not do what they know they should do so they can feel better temporarily. Right? External blame is a big part of a victim's life. Who can I blame? What can I blame? And, they might say, hey, I'm going to get this done. And a week later, you talk to them and they're like, well, I couldn't because, the sun came out at 8:39, right? Or the sun didn't go down till 9:23. They'll come up with something. The temperature was 15 degrees, not 17. Oh, my uncle came and he said this, and my auntie came and she did this, and then the dog barked. And external blame is something that a victim thrives on. Okay, so stay with me. There's no condemnation here. I'm helping you walk through this, right? If you catch the victim in you, you can switch it. Stop feeding the victim. Start feeding the victor, because we all have victor in us. You have the spirit of victory in you, in Jesus. You are more than a conqueror. You can start to feed that instead of the victim thinking, right? So stay with me. External blame. That's how you can catch yourself if you're always finding a way to blame others, right? The next thing is that there is no trace of ownership or responsibility in a victim's life. You see, when you read books like what's it called? Man, I lost track of it. Radical Ownership. Maybe some of you know the book I'm talking about by Jocko Willink. Extreme Ownership. Extreme Ownership. You start reading about these leaders. A lot of leadership groups where they are functioning really well, you will hear this radical, extreme ownership where the person is not just taking ownership for their action, but even their teams. And that is why they become this great leader, is because they've learned how to take responsibility. They've learned how to take ownership. Like when something goes crazy in my house, as the head of the house, as the man of the house, as the husband and the father of the house, I got to take that ownership and responsibility, even if it wasn't me that did that, right? Like if you think about a company, a successful company, a good company, you have this hierarchy, and we want to talk about the hierarchy part, but then you got these leaders, and good leaders will end up taking responsibility for something wrong that someone who works in their company, who doesn't care about the company as much as them, when they make a mistake, good leaders take responsibility even for them. And so victim thinking hates responsibility, hates ownership, hates accountability. Now, don't ask me if I did that. Don't check on me. Victim thinking loves to blame shift and push away ownership and responsibility. Okay. Another thing around victim thinking is a negative self-image, negative self-esteem, negative self-thinking. And every now and then it just comes out. Oh, but I can never do this. I can't do that. Look at all the mistakes I made, because the stories have been going on for years, a lot of times, right? There is a learned hopelessness, a practiced hopelessness. There is a learned helplessness. Like nobody can help me. This will never change. That's in there somewhere. And so you want to be able to catch all the victim thinking in you. And the earlier you can catch it, the better it is. Now, if you are further along in victim thinking and you hear me, I might be triggering you a lot. And you might need to start looking at rewiring some of that thinking. Another thing about victim thinking is they're very, very opposed to changing. They have a resistance towards change. And they will try and keep everyone in that same situation, including themselves, because they're so scared of change. Right? Usually people that have lived in victim thinking are very pessimistic. When you present an opportunity to them, they will tell you why it won't go wrong, why it won't go right, why it will go wrong. And a lot of times, victim thinking, you can become very knowledgeable on a subject. You can become so knowledgeable on a subject to prove your point, which is, no, can't change that. Nope, can't do that. And then selectively throw a little bit of positivity. And then we're like, okay, let's take action on the positivity. No, can't do that. You want to catch the victim thinker in you, because that victim thinking is going to stop you from taking action, my friend. It's going to stop you from taking action. So what is the solution to victim thinking? You need to get around people that absolutely don't think like you. And it will be so radically offensive to your pet cat called Vic, last name Tim. It will be so offensive that it's going to cause you to go two ways. Obviously, you might run away, which you might have been doing your whole life, or it might cause you to actually allow some humility in you to start to change. So you want to get around people that move. You know, I did a massive Facebook cull on my social media 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, all the stuff on my news feed, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be like this person. Like this person that airing their dirty laundry, like always crying, always crap things in their life, always unfollow. I had to unfollow. I can't put myself in environments around people that are always, it's always going to be bad. It's always hard. It's always sad. Nothing ever moves in their life. So I unfollowed a lot of people, right? I unfollowed a lot of conversations, and I started to follow the ones that were fearlessly executing. I started to follow the ones that just kept talking like a victor. And a guy would come on and be like, oh, I just lost $1 million in the last few months in my business. What a lesson. So excited for the rest of the year, you know? And I'm like, what? Like, the way you're thinking is amazing. Someone else would come on, yeah, this crazy thing happened to me, and now I'm about to move into this. And my old victim thinking couldn't even see the connection. How do you bounce back like that? Because you have practiced thinking in a way. There was no room for the victim. And then I started to challenge my own self, right? Because I had a training program, I had different exercises, I had different things I was doing. And there were times I'd come home, it's 11 o'clock, I'd been in meetings, I've been doing things outside of Auckland. It's 11 o'clock and I haven't done my program. And I started to realize very quickly that the old Joseph at 11 o'clock at night is going to be like, bro, just go to sleep. You don't need to do this. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. You can do this tomorrow. You can catch up tomorrow, bro. And I started to be like, really? Is this the guy I want to be? And, you know, I started to track my progress on my stories because it kept me accountable. And I remember walking down my street at 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock, there's nobody there. And I'm just getting my steps done. Why? Because I needed to know that my thinking, that I am in charge of my soul. I don't have to be a victim. I don't have to come up with all these reasons. And I started to surround myself with people that don't live victim at all. And it was very, very, very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. You know, people that become very cliquey, people that become very their own church orientated, like, because everybody likes to get drawn into a culture, and then we get so sucked into one culture we don't know how to be with other cultures, right? People that get sucked into victim thinking, they naturally will find other people that will pat their back. They don't naturally find other people that say, okay, you've done enough patting now, let's go. They will naturally find others who also pat their own back and will pat their back. Can you please scratch for me? I'll scratch for you. Oh, life is so hard, isn't it? Let's share a cup of tea and talk about it. So if you want to get out of this, You're going to have to find people that are totally opposite to that, and it's going to be rough at the beginning. But eventually you will start catching how your thinking has changed, and the excuses you used to have just start to die out. And you'll start to see positivity. You'll start to see potential. You'll start to see, man, I know that happened, but I can move in every situation. Okay, so victim thinking, get a reality check by getting around people that think nothing like that. Let me say one last thing on here, and I'm spending time here because this is big. Actually, I'll say two things. One is, when victim thinkers come together, man, they can really shoot people. And what happens is, you look at somebody that is succeeding, that doesn't have that thinking in them, that are executing, and you will try and find a fault in them. And I have done this before. And the reason I'm trying to find a fault in them is so I can feel better about my lack of action. So I might say something like, oh yeah, well, they're good at this, they're good at that, but they absolutely don't. And I need to throw that in there to feel better, feel better for me. You don't want to go down this path. It doesn't help you, right? No matter how much crap I can find on this person, it doesn't help my life, right? So you want to start ditching that victim thinking. And the last thing I want to say on this, which is the worst part of victim thinking, is when people actually will address and will confess, I'm the problem. Yeah, it is me. I'm too lazy. Or it is me. I have no discipline. It is me. I'm actually very rude. It is me. I don't know how to make friends. It is me. I don't have confidence. It is me. They'll accept the problem, but still nothing changes. That is the worst place to be stuck in, because now you have the partial truth where you're able to accept, yeah, I have no discipline. I've never trained discipline. You're able to get, but it never comes out to the other side of where you overcome that. That is the worst place to get stuck in. And so when I'm conversing with people, sometimes people will very quickly accept the things they don't do, right? The things that are harming their life, the things that are harming people around them, because you are affecting everybody around you too. Whether you do it consciously or not, and whether you realize it or not, you are affecting people. Even if you live alone, you're interacting with people in some capacity at some point. And so when they accept the problem, but they stay in it, that is the worst trap to get sucked in, okay? The only solution, get around people that don't think like that. Get around people that you will perceive to be too rough. They're too much. You need some of that for a season, and you will get moving. I remember listening to this guy on YouTube talking to overweight people, and he was so ruthless, just calling them all kinds of names, right? Saying all kinds of stuff about, body fat and things like that, and talking to their habits. And I was like, you are too much, brother. What is wrong with you? And he's swearing and he's calling people like, yeah, I'm fat this and fat that. And I forget his name now. He did this thing called the snake diet, which is a really funny name. But he trained people to intermittent fast, and he trained people to have electrolytes and start to learn how to burn fat, all that kind of stuff. But when I heard his message, I was like, whoa, you're way too rough. And then I looked in his channel, and there was story after story after story. I was 400 pounds. And then I listened to this guy, and he made me so mad at first. And now I have lost 200 pounds. I've gained my life back. Thank you so much. You changed my story after story, from 400 pounds to 200 pounds, 350 pounds. This is crazy amount of weight. This is people stuck in victim thinking for years. And his roughness jarred them into reality to such a point. And I saw hundreds of testimonials. And there were still people that hated him and hated his approach. And I get it. But it just blew my mind. So when you find people that are too rough for you, it is probably because they're about to unlock something in you that all the pansy people around you cannot. So go find someone who's going to keep you accountable. It's going to be great for your life, okay? Might not be fun for your feelings, but it's going to be great for your life. All right, last three things. The third thing I want to talk about is the faith in the negative. A lot of times people don't take action because they have faith in the negative. What if it doesn't go wrong? What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't have what it takes? What if nobody reads my book? What if nobody watches my podcast? What if nobody comments? What if they don't like what I have to say? And so the faith is so much in the negative. It's like this negative anticipation. Oh, it's going to be hard. Oh, this is going to be a rough journey. Oh, I don't know if I can. And so they have so much faith in that between the time where they decide to do something and the time they actually do something, they dwell and meditate on that so much, they don't end up doing it. And I've seen a lot of people do this with writing books. There's an easy example for me to give you. A lot of people know that they're supposed to write a book. Okay, a lot of people know that they should be releasing their message, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, whether it's through pictures or video or blog writing. Most of you have a message to release, right? This is the best day and age for you to actually release your message and have people get attracted to what God has put inside you. So everyone has this message to release, but they'll say, yeah, I'm going to write a book. And then 2 months later, nothing's been written. And when you start asking the questions, somewhere you find something like, but what if people don't like what I have to say? Who's even going to read my book? And they've spent so much faith in the negative. Like even when you think about an investment opportunity, there are people that are too scared to invest anything because they've dwelt so much. What if it goes wrong? What if I lose all my money? What if this crashes? What if this never happens? And so you put so much faith in this negative outcome that it's rational for you after that to not do anything about it. So you might be someone that plans to do this and you don't take action because you have already perceived this to be hard, useless, and not fruitful. And if that's the case, then why would anybody want to do that? No one would want to do it. So I want to encourage you to catch yourself when you make plans for the day, when there are things you're running from, when there are things you know you should be doing, right? And you don't engage these things. How are you thinking about these things? Are you already perceiving it to be a bad outcome? Are you already perceiving it to be a loss? Have you already imagined the worst possible scenario? Because if that's how you're thinking, you won't then lead to action. So the solution, what's the solution? You start training yourself when you make decisions. If you are like, I'm going to spend 90 minutes doing a work block and I'm going to write a book or I'm going to do my business or whatever, launch my business, whatever it is, right? I'm going to spend 90 minutes doing this. I'm going to spend 60 minutes doing that. I'm going to get this done today. Like it might even be your laundry time. Right? I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get the lawns mowed, whatever it is that you don't get done, struggle to take action with. After you think about, I'm going to do that, to take some time to close your eyes and perceive it to go well. Like, for example, I'm writing a book. I can perceive my book to be written and I'm smiling while I'm writing it. And I'm like, wow, Holy Spirit's really speaking through me. Wow, I wrote some good ideas on there. Man, I like what I'm writing. And then I might see myself showing it to my wife and my wife going, wow, that's really good, honey. And now I'm like, oh man, I like what's going on. And then I see the book and I see it printed, published, and it's sitting in someone's hand and they're writing a review. Joseph's book really shook me to the core and changed my life. Thank you so much for writing it, Joseph. And I'm like, whoa. And now my perceived outcome is so good. It is so good. I am excited to write my book. Same day, same laptop, same office, same book, just different thinking. I am now excited to write my book. Some of you don't follow nutrition plans for 7 days in a row because you don't take time to perceive the desired result. You don't take time to see, man, 6 weeks from now, I'm 6 kgs lighter. I'm in that dress that I've always wanted. I'm in those pants. I'm in that shirt. I'm feeling good. I'm fit. If you were to dwell on that, you wouldn't need someone to push you to get to the gym. You wouldn't need someone to tell you, hey, put that donut down. If you took time to go, man, when reading the word, I get revelation. God is speaking to me. As soon as I open the book, I can feel the Spirit of God. I can feel him speaking to me through my conscience. I can feel him speaking to me through the word. If you perceived and encounter every time you engage God, do you know how often you would put yourself in that situation? Most people don't have a proper prayer life or a word life. And I'm not talking about the religious stuff, okay? Well, I'm saying that most people don't have this because they already perceive it to be boring, hard, and not fruitful. You know, people go, oh, I don't really have a word life. If you perceived it to be great, you would put yourself in that situation and great things would happen. God would speak to you. You would have these encounters. Are you saying, so you get what I'm saying? So it's the same God, same Bible, same journal, same pen, same home, same time frame, just different thinking. right? If you have faith in the negative all the time, you might want to start to switch that, because life becomes fun when you have joyful anticipation, not remorseful anticipation. Use your gift of hope, which lies in your imagination. Use your gift of expectation. Use your gift of anticipation. It's a gift you've been given. You can now anticipate, expect, put yourself in a place where you can start to draw on the limitless, infinite possibilities that are good, not crap. Okay, so that's number 3, faith in the negative. Shift that. And that's how you do it, by shifting, using your imagination and starting to perceive a desired result. Now, let me know if you are getting any help from what I'm saying. Okay, if this is helping you, let me know. We got 2 more things. Okay, we got procrastination. I had to separate that because this negative anticipation leads to procrastination. You keep going, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. All right, so they're interlinked. If you are procrastinating on something, it's probably you're expecting a bad outcome, okay? But another reason that people procrastinate is because they're not actually connected to the action. They're not actually connected to the desired result. They don't actually want it. And they've never taken time to see if they want it. You know, we have this ability to be like squirrels, and we have this, shiny object syndrome with different things like, oh, I'll listen to this thing, I'll watch this thing, I'll buy this thing. We have that potential to be like that. And that thing has to be tamed. Your attention, your focus, and your tongue are 3 things that have to be tamed. They have to be tamed. Most people are ruled by that right now. They focus, attention, TikTok shorts, all these have ruined our ability to do that. That has to be tamed. It has to be trained, okay? And that's a conversation for another day. But we have this ability to go here, and temporarily feel good, and we never take time to think, what do I really want? What do I really want? When I'm coaching people, that is where I start. And the number of times people get stumped. I say, how can I help you? What do you want? Go into meditation. Right? And I'm like, oh, you never thought about what you want from your life? Oh, no. Right? And that's me. When we're born, we're taught to be like everybody else, go to school like everybody else, wear the same clothes like everybody else. In India, do your hair like everybody else, black shoes like everybody else. If you do anything different, you're in trouble. Then from school, you go to university. Why? That's what you do. After university, you go find a job low on the ladder, and then you work your way up. And then eventually, if you do well, you might get a great position. Then you buy a home, you get married, get a dog, apparently, a couple of kids. 2 is a great number. 4 is a great number. We're given all these society's expectations, culture's expectations. Now, your cultural expectation might be different to what I just said to you, but we get programmed in that. And most people have never sat down to say, what do I want? What do I want? And then when you start asking that question, you'll catch a lot of your wrong wiring, because a lot of people are scared to even ask that question. They're scared to even think about, what do I want? And so procrastination happens when you've never thought about it. Do you actually want to write a book? Or are you writing a book because so-and-so wrote a book and so-and-so wrote a book, and now you think you should write a book? Do you actually want to start that channel? Do you actually want to lose that weight? Or are you just doing it because this person looked good and this person looks good, and now you're just jealous? And so you're not actually connected to the why of what you are doing. So taking time when you decide, I'm going to do something, and if you're finding that you're not doing some things, take some time to go, do I really want to do this? Why do I want to do this? Who does it affect? How does it affect them? So when I'm building, I'm going to give you an example of me building a business. Okay. So I'm running a fitness business at that time. I started to come online. I'm doing my fitness business online, and I had to learn how to do websites and stuff. And I'm not a techie guy. I remember 1 o'clock in the morning getting so frustrated at my computer, I nearly broke it because I spent hours, days building a page. And then finally, when I published it, it all came out like crap. And it's 1 something in the morning. My wife's sleeping upstairs. We're a baby at that time. And I'm just like, should I break my computer now? Like, it really ticked me off, right? But as I embrace this journey, why am I doing this? Do I want it? Yeah, I want it. What do I want? I want the freedom of running life on my terms. I don't want to be at the mercy of some boss who then decides he needs a restructure and he's like, goodbye, Joseph, right? I wanted that freedom. I was connected to the why. I wanted the ability to build something that I created. I don't want to just sell something someone else created. I want to create these programs that are going to change people's lives. And I want it to be something I made with the Lord, that I made with God. So the why was that it was deep. Then I was like, who does it affect? It affects my wife and my kids. My wife can be a stay-at-home mom. My kids can be homeschooled, and we have freedom to move. Right? So I'm connected into why I'm doing what I'm doing. It helped me go through all this crap. All the times I wanted to quit, all the times when things didn't make sense. I was able to just move past them because I knew why I was doing it. I knew who I was doing it with and who I was doing it for. And I knew how it was going to affect them. So if you get connected to some of these things like this, like there is somebody who is waiting for you. If you are called to run coaching, if you're called to be a consultant, if you're called to do stuff online, there is somebody waiting on you and they don't even know it's you. When you show up, they go, oh, and you, within you, have this potential to change all these lives if you were to move into it, right? So procrastination, people that don't write their book. I mean, 3 years ago, somebody might have been waiting on your book and it might have been a matter of life and death. It might have been a matter of big breakthrough or crazy situation. And your book could have shifted their life forever. So procrastination, right? When you are not connected to why you're doing it, who is in the picture, so that who's being affected by it, positively or negatively, right? And how they're going to be affected. If you have these three things, usually procrastination will not be a problem. And you give yourself grace, because sometimes you'll look at something and go, you know what? I don't actually want to do that. Okay, well, stop it. What do you want to do? Let's keep moving, right? Fearless execution. Fearless execution. So procrastination, if that's you, hopefully that helps. And the last thing I want to talk about is no confidence. And you are going to face this if you're going to do anything great. It's crazy to me how many people think they're not going to come face to face with their real belief systems as they try and chart a new territory. Every time I come into a new cycle of my purpose and I have to meet new people in a new way, at a new either a new socioeconomic status, at a new income level, or I got to meet people in a new environment, a new subject, I come face to face with that. I'm like, oh, Joseph, can you do this? I'd like to submit to you that in your life, every month, I'll say every month, I'd like to say every day, and I'd like to say every week, but I'll say every month, just being a bit more gentle. If you are not coming to a place where you're like, do I have what it takes? And I don't mean like a victim, like I don't have what it takes. No, this question, do I have what it takes? Right? Can I do this? Can I do this? Yeah, I can. I can. If you're never asking that question, you're never doing something that's beyond you, are you? That is a great question to ask. Man, can I do this? I could do this. You will catch me during the day talking to myself at different points. Come on, Joseph, you got this, bro. Right? Before I coach other people, I had to learn how to coach me. Right? But if I'm never coming to a place where I'm like, a bit of a jump, it's a decision, right? The ones that I've grown to love even more now when I need God, because I know that if I jump without him, I'm crashing. And those jumps look like, right? And they weren't fun at the beginning, but exhilarating. They're more fun now, So if you're never at this place where you're like having to check your confidence, you're probably not pushing any boundaries. You're not pushing any boundaries. And there's so many boundaries for us to push because this is a limitless life. So confidence. Reason people don't have confidence is because they never push the boundary. Another reason people don't have confidence is because they have failed themselves so many times. Now, I don't know why my computer keeps popping this thumbs up. They have failed themselves so many times by resolutions they made to themselves and never kept it. They said, hey, I'm going to do this on Monday and never did it. They said, I'm going to make sure this happens by next week. Never did it. They said, on Thursday, I'm going to da-da-da. Never did it. The person in your life that knows how many times you have lied, right? Other than God, the person who knows the most is you. It's you. The person in your life that knows how much you lie, even to yourself, how much you don't keep promises, is you. So when there is a lack of confidence, confide in, right? Confide in, confidence. When there's a lack of ability to confide in yourself, it's because you have broken that trust so many times that right now you yourself don't know if you can confide in you. So the way you build confidence is start to put yourself in situations where you have to confide in you. And these questions, like when I say, man, can you do this? Can I do this? Okay, I can. Come on. Like when that thought process is causing me to build that I'm confiding in me now. When I say, okay, 6 o'clock, I'm going to go and do this, and then I do it, I am like, yeah, I'm a guy that does what I say. Now, religiously, people will say, let your yes be yes, brother, and your no be no. Meanwhile, they never do anything. They never do anything. And this is where, like, you can have this fake religious Christianity, spirituality that has no fruit. And it proves over and over again that you don't actually want to be rooted and grounded in him, right? So confiding, learning how to build that confidence will cause you to become a better action taker in time, right? Practicing, I said this, I did it. I said it, I did it. Build integrity, build trust, build confidence. So these are the 5 things I wanted to share with you, 5 reasons, okay, why people don't take action or struggle with taking action. But if you will choose to be one that will fearlessly execute, it's going to blow your mind. It is going to radically change your life. So I hope you got something from this. Please share this with friends that you know it's going to help. And if you need help with any of this, we have our Royal Hybrids group mentorship. You might want to look into that. I'll put the link in the caption. Come join a bunch of us. There's about 66, 67 of us at the moment, and it's only going to grow. People who are on this path, right? Growing, maturing, taking action, moving with God, right? Ups and downs and around the corners, all of it. And starting to see God move in our life more and more and more and more. And also, I'd love for you to tell me which one of these 5 hit you the most. All right. Was it lack of discipline? Victim thinking? Was it the faith in the negative outcome? Was it procrastination? Or was it a lack of confidence? All right. Which 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or all 5 hit you the most? Let me know in the comment section. Okay. Bless you. And I will see you on the next one.